The Eastside, Chapter 1. It had been 3 weeks since the incident at Club Luxy, and it was one of the top trending topics on the daily news and the newspapers. Many rumors and opinions had been assumed on what happened that night, but no one truly knew. Some people said that the owner was part of the mafia and was killed over money, or had international connections and enemies overseas. One of the newscasts suggested that he was murdered by his own club employees. But I didn't know what the truth was. All I knew was, since that incident 3 weeks ago, tensions had been very high between the east side of the city and the west side. A black Mercedes, which witnesses said left the crime scene, was found by police on East Cardinal, which was on the east side. The east side was where most of the black communities were located. The Hispanics called us beasts, for black east siders, because that was where most of us lived. I, myself, and all of my friends lived in the belly of the beasts, right in the middle of East Cardinal. The west side of town was mostly the Latin communities. We called them the mommies and the poppies. Most of the people living on the west side blamed us for the shooting of Jose Camacho and had been very vocal about it. The killing started a feud between the communities. Any beast found in the west by any of the extremists were either assaulted or stabbed. The results was the same for any of the mommies or poppies caught in our neighborhoods. Jose Camacho, the business owner, was beloved by his community. He gave money for local charities and he volunteered to help clean up the crime in the neighborhood. So when he died, it caused an uproar, which led the mommies and the poppies wanting retaliation. This led to vandalism all over the east side communities and verbal threats from passing cars. Many beasts became tired of the abuse, so, in revenge, some of them went to the west side and started destroying properties. I never got into the whole commotion. I preferred to stay out of it, and life was too stressful already to add extra stress. I just made sure I stayed away from the west side of town and kept all of these stories here in the east. "Hey, wake your punk ass up," called a voice outside my bedroom window. The loud call startled me, interrupting my slumber. I glanced at my alarm clock, which read 9 a.m. The constant blinking red numbers annoyed me quickly as I groaned and put my head underneath my thin covers. "Yo, Jay! You jerking off up there?" yelled the voice again, frustrated by my lack of response. I reluctantly climbed out of my bed and guided myself toward the window while rubbing my irritated eyes, trying to reactivate my vision. Annoyed, I shoved open the window and from my second floor called out, "What?" While looking down, I realized that my vision was still blurry. I proceeded to rub my eyes while I poked my head outside the window some more. My vision cleared as I gazed at my best friend Teddy. His real name was Paul, but everybody in the neighborhood called him Teddy. He received his nickname because of his large, 6'2" round frame. As kids, the girls used to say he looked like a big, cuddly teddy bear, so the name stuck. He looked up at me from underneath the window with 2 bags of groceries in his hand. "Open the door! It's hot out here, man!" he complained, as I could see the sweat on his large forehead dripping down as he breathed heavily in the hot Florida climate. "It ain't hot. You're just fat," I said humorously, laughing at my own joke. "Fuck you! Open the door, dick!" he replied, laughing as well. "Come upstairs," I said while turning my back to him to go unlock the door. Teddy was a great cook, but his mother would never let him use her kitchen to work on his culinary skills. She said that he was too messy and he didn't clean up properly. So he came by every Monday and cooked breakfast, and sometimes dinner. His dream was to be a host of his own cooking show called Cooking with Teddy. Our other friends and I would tease and make jokes about it, but in all honesty, he was amazing in the kitchen. He was 19, like me at the time, and we had been friends since the second grade. He was attending culinary school and would always push me to continue my education. But after I graduated from high school, I never thought there was a point for me to. I liked my job, and I could see myself doing that for a while. Are you going to work today? Teddy asked, while pouring eggs into a pan to assemble his cheddar cheese omelets and pancakes. That was his breakfast specialty, in my opinion. Yeah, I have to be there from 12 to 8, I replied. Perfect, he said excitedly, while keeping his eyes and attention on his edible experiment. There's a party tonight. Where at? I asked. Down Silverado Ocean, he responded. I'm there. Just meet me here at 9. You? He asked, irritated. Nah, your pretty boy ass be taking like 8 years to get ready. Just call me when you're done, and I'll come through. I laughed at his comment. Whatever. Don't be a hater. Hey, I'm gonna go take a shower before work. Save me a plate. Gonna cost you $10, bruh. This food ain't cheap. I rolled my eyes and continued to the bathroom, knowing that Teddy loved when people ate his food, and that there was always a plate ready for me. You should pay me to eat it, I joked. Hey, you could talk about my mama, even my grandmama, but don't ever talk bad about my food, Teddy said jokingly, but in a serious tone. After I finished taking my shower and got ready for work, I raced back into the kitchen and devoured the tasty breakfast. I left Teddy in the house and jumped into my 1999 Chevy Impala to drive to work. I loved my car. It was silver with some scratches on the side to prove how many miles I had on it. All my windows were tinted, and the car sat on 18-inch hubcaps. My car was special to me because it was the last thing my mother gave to me before she died of cancer. I felt like my mother was right there with me in the passenger seat whenever I drove it. When I was young, she would take me on trips to the beach, and she would play her favorite Whitney Houston songs, and I would be in the passenger seat singing along with her. I missed her a lot. She had the most beautiful voice, and Jahvon, Earth to Jahvon, come in Jahvon, was repeated sarcastically as my thoughts were interrupted. Ugh, I'm sorry, Pops, I said, ashamed, continuing to sweep the messy car garage floor, not realizing I was at work. Look like you were daydreaming, he inquired, referring to my previous stiff stature, gazing into the abyss of tires and motor vehicle parts. Is it some pretty young thing you thinking about? He asked, looking amused by his own comments while patting me on my back. No, no, I replied, looking down, continuing to sweep. It's nothing. Nothing? Nothing? He said playfully. Boy, I've known you since you were still swimming your old man sagging balls. I know there's something bothering you. Okay, first of all, ew, I snapped back. And second, I'm good. Okay, okay, Pop said, surrendering his bombardment of questioning. Come help me move this engine back into this blue Nissan. Pops was an old friend of my father's. He used to tell me stories about their youth and how they grew up as teens during the 70s. Pop's office was full of old pictures of him and my father as teenagers, wearing big afros, bell bottoms, and colorful t-shirts. Now Pop's in his 50s, wore nothing but car mechanic overalls, and had gray hair. He did not have many wrinkles for his age, but his short, non-athletic frame always struggled to pick up any large or heavy machinery. So, he asked me to work in his shop with him and his two other employees. I'd been working in Pop's shop since I was 15. He received the name Pops when he was in his early 30s because he was constantly meddling and giving advice to other people. Everyone in the neighborhood said he liked to act like their father, so the name stuck with him to his old age. His incessant talking and asking questions could become slightly annoying, but he was very wise and always gave great advice. Plus, he was a genius when it came to cars. He taught me how to fix and maintain most makes and models. He was one of the kindest people I knew. He would always make sure I was being taken care of when my dad was at work and when my mother died. His wife even liked to babysit my little sister when my father and I were at work. He was a really good man. He even treated me better than my real father, so when I called him Pops, I meant it. Woo! Pops exclaimed, wiping drips of sweat from his forehead. Thanks, young blood. Anytime, Pops, I said, wiping my hands on a towel. It's good to have a set of young, strong arms around here, he said, barely catching his breath while sitting down on a stack of grouped tires. Reach on top of that shelf and grab me that clipboard. Your longer arms can reach it better. Okay, I replied, reaching on the tip of my toes to acquire the clipboard upon his request. Here you go. Thank you, son, he said in appreciation, still breathing heavily. Uh, how tall are you now, boy? 6'1", 6'2"? No, Pops. I'm only 5'11". How tall are you? I chuckled slightly. Boy, now I'm 5 feet negative, he joked, while sucking his teeth. I need you on Thursday, too. I have a large order of parts coming in that I have to put away, and I could pay you then. Sure, Pops, I agreed. Look at what we have here. Sanford and Son, said a devious voice from behind our heads. Sanford and Son was an old television show starring Red Fox as a mechanic working with his son. The show was a comedy, but the look on Pop's face, I could see he was not very amused. I rapidly turned around, but I already recognized the voice. I turned to see my cousin Rich, but everyone called him Juice. He received the nickname in middle school after hitting the biggest kid in school with a lunch tray and then pouring apple juice on him. I remember the altercation very well because I was there in the lunchroom that day with him. The biggest kid in school was Fabian Rogers at the time. He was already 6 feet tall and weighed around 125 pounds. He was the largest sixth grader I'd ever seen, and he was a known bully. He would always take kids' lunches and pick on the one smaller than him, which was everyone. The first day of sixth grade, Fabian tried pushing Juice out of his way when he was walking through the hall. So, at that moment, Juice started plotting his revenge. He waited until lunchtime, when Fabian was relaxing and eating his lunch. Juice put 3 aluminum trays together and crept up behind Fabian and slammed the trays on the back of his head. As Fabian got up, he was still dazed by the blow, so Juice continued the assault by punching him in the face and taking his apple juice and pouring it on him. He told me later that day he had wanted to establish dominance in the school, and he got his wish because everybody respected him after that. He was suspended for his actions, which started his long list of always getting into trouble with the schools and the law. That's why Pops did not care for Juice at all. He claimed that he was what he called a bad apple, someone who was nothing but trouble. Hey yo, Pops, looks like the wife is starting to cook a little too good, Juice yelled out, laughing while tapping Pop's belly. My car ready yet? It's Mr. Pops, or Mr. Davison to you, Pop snapped back, quickly moving Juice's hand with his arm. Whoa, whoa, Juice exclaimed, with his hands in the air to indicate that he was not deliberately being offensive. Take it easy, boss man. Pops just turned away in disgust and went to go fetch Juice's car keys and vehicle. What it is, cuzzo? Juice said, greeting me and giving me a handshake. I'm good. How you been? I replied. I'm cool. I'm cool, Juice murmured while observing his surroundings. So, how much is Pops paying you in here? Enough, I said, shrugging my shoulders, knowing in my head that the pay was not really that good. Psh, he mocked. Enough for what? You know, enough, I responded reluctantly, shrugging my shoulders again. Suddenly, an all-white Lexus ES approached our location. The paint glimmered off the garage lights, and it had all black tinted windows and rims that shone like a vehicle that had just been driven directly from a showroom floor. The pearl white doors opened as Pops started to vacate the vehicle. There goes my baby, Juice stated ecstatically as Pops handed him the keys. This is yours? I asked in astonishment. Yes, sir, he said smugly. If I knew this was your car from the beginning, I would never have touched it, Pops exclaimed, irritated by the young 5'8" caramel brown skinned kid in front of him. Pops examined Juice up and down, staring at his large muscular frame and fancy clothes. He approached Juice to show that he was not intimidated by him. Gum, Juice offered to the old man, who was inches away from his face. He pulled out a packet of gum from his polo jean pocket to indicate that Pop's breath was unpleasant. Pop slapped the gum packet out of his hand. It fell to the floor. All the while, Pops maintained eye contact with him. Juice chuckled at the old man's attempt to be tough and pulled out another pack of gum and placed a piece in his own mouth while still keeping eye contact with Pops. They stared at each other for a moment, and then Juice turned directly to me. All right, cuzzo. I'm gonna get out of here, Juice said while pressing his fist against mine. Hey, let me know if you need a job. He already has a job, Pops interrupted. Ha! Juice exclaimed sarcastically. A real job. Now, what's a real job? Pops questioned. Spreading that poison throughout our communities, huh? Is that a real job? No, old man. A job that gets you paid and gets you laid. A job that gets you a car like this, Juice said defensively. He has a car, Pops exclaimed. Ha! That pussy repellent, Juice said. He laughed. No disrespect, cuz. You a good looking dude and all, but your pussy game will skyrocket once you get yourself some status. You might even get Shantae back. I looked down and thought, hey, just think about it. See you later. Hey, yo, Papo! Relax a little bit before you mess around and give your ass a heart attack. Juice concluded while maneuvering his broad shoulders in his new acquired vehicle. He was shorter than me, but very muscular from all the weightlifting he did on a daily basis. Juice started his car and reversed out of Pop's garage while letting his loud hip-hop music play from his new speakers. As I watched him drive away, I began to dispute with myself and wonder if his life was the one I wanted. Pops surprised me by placing his wrinkled hand on my shoulder and guiding me to his office. Sit down, Jahvon, he said to me. I could tell he was concerned. You're a good kid, and I know you have a good heart. I swore to your mother before she died that I would watch over you and your sister and make sure you both become good, upstanding citizens. I have not given up on my promise. I want to make your mother proud. That cousin of yours is a bad seed. He doesn't care about no one but himself. A real man works hard. He leaves work with bruised up hands, and he gives his blood, sweat, and tears to do the right thing. A real man does not take the easy way out and never hurts others for his own personal gain. I want to see you become a good man and not just a grown boy. I know, Pops. We've had this conversation before, I said while sitting in a hard wooden chair across from Pops, who sat behind his medium sized desk. All I'm saying is always be a man in any situation. Be a man. Be a real man. Okay, Pops, I said, with my arms crossed in front of my chest. I had already grown tired of his long lecture. Okay, okay, son. I know you're a good boy. You can get out of here early and enjoy your youth, he said, grinning while leaning back on his chair. Thanks, Pops, I exclaimed, getting out of my seat and heading towards the door. Oh, Jahvon, before you go, whatever did happen between you and Shantae? Man, I really don't want to talk about it. He grinned at me again and said, Okay, be careful out there. I nodded in agreement and left to go home. I came home to a busy house. My father was on the couch watching Family Feud with a plate of ribs on his lap and the remote in his hand. I could hear him yelling answers to the game show competitors from the outside steps before I walked into the apartment. I crept past him through the narrow hallway to my room. I entered the room to see my baby sister playing with her toys on a carpeted floor. She was holding two dolls and murmuring gibberish to both of them before her head looked up in joy at seeing a familiar face. She collected herself to stand up and stumbled toward me before I finally picked her up and held her. How was your day today, Lily? I asked softly. Her bashfulness did not let her answer. She just replied with an embarrassing smile and put her timid face down. Aw, you're not shy around your big brother, are you? I again asked her softly. She shook her head left and right while continuing to smile. She reached over my arm and grabbed a white piece of paper with a crayon-colored picture. The picture was a small illustration of a boy and a little girl. They were both stick figure and colored at an adolescent skill level. I smiled at her cute face and said, I'll keep this picture forever, okay? She nodded her head and hugged me in gratitude. Then she laid her head on my shoulder and let out a soft yawn. Nap time. Somebody's tired, I muttered to myself and gently placed her on my bed for her nap. My baby sister was so adorable when she slept. She had light brown skin and beautiful light brown eyes with curly black hair, and everyone gave her compliments whenever they met her. She was lighter skinned than me. I was more of a darker caramel brown. Her skin was very smooth with no blemishes. Mine was similar, but all of the dark marks on my face and arms blended nicely with my skin, but wasn't as clear as hers. My dad said she looked just like my mother, who had long curly hair, which he said she got from having some Native American in her family. I'm not sure if that's true, but she was a beautiful baby girl nonetheless. My hair, when grown out, was soft but nappy, so I always kept it low cut and groomed. I noticed the waves appearing more drastically in my hair as I removed my do-rag, which I always wore while working in the garage. I looked at myself in the mirror while brushing my hair to make the hairs wavier. Afterwards, I shaved my hairline around my head and groomed my beard to a thin strip from left side of my face down to the chin and back to the right side. I shaved it until it was perfectly symmetrical. I checked myself out in the mirror to make sure all of my attributes were being accented. My long eyelashes blinded me as I washed my face after shaving. I jumped into the shower while playing music from my boombox and singing along to my favorite song. The music was low enough for me to hear a knock on the door, so I quickly grabbed a towel and placed it around my waist, then rushed down the hallway to answer it. I hurried to the door so the